thank you for being here. I'm Evan Jenkins. I work for Ramaco, and I am honored to be with you all in this program today. To honor our country, to honor our troops, to honor all those who served, to honor all of us as Americans, let me welcome to the stage Gina Felicia McDermott to sing our national anthem. If you're able to stand, please do.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? You guys, God bless you.
This isn't just a mine, it's a moment.
But the US miner Ramaco Resources has just discovered what is believed to be America's biggest rare earth deposit at a coal mine in Wyoming.
For generations, American industry has built the modern world. Steel, coal, grit. But now, a big part of the supply chain is overseas, the rare earth elements that power modern tech. Today, we begin declaring our independence. Welcome to the ribbon cutting for Ramaco's Brook mine, the first new rare earth element mine on American soil in over 70 years, and the first new coal mine in Wyoming in nearly 50 years. Working alongside the best scientists in the nation, and with state and national support, we're forging new techniques to extract these minerals directly from coal, the most abundant natural resource in the U.S. Today is a milestone for Wyoming, for our economy, and for a new rare earth revolution.
Well, that video is a tough act to follow. I am Randy Atkins. I'm the chairman and CEO of Ramaco, chief herder of cats for this company, and I am just so excited and delighted to have everybody here today. This is a momentous day, and I'm proud that you all are here. First, I'd like to thank, of course, everybody here. When I moved to Sheridan about 15 years ago, I discovered that Wyoming kind of had its own pace. People didn't rush things, the mountains settle, and in our case, a new mine had to mature for about 15 years like good whiskey before it was time to open it. So today, we are here to pop that cork. I'm excited everybody's here to help us celebrate it. I would especially like to thank Secretary Wright, Governor Gordon, Senator Barrasso, Senator Lummis, Harriet Hegman, and my old friend, Joe Manchin, who is now, we've made him an honest man, he's now on our board. We'll be introducing each one of these people in a moment, but it means the world to us to have all of you here today. I'd also like to step back and thank all our friends that are here, all my immediate family who is here, down to my youngest granddaughters, plural, all our employees, our board, and the wonderful folks of Sheridan and Ranchester who we've been able to work beside for all these years. It's not every day that we get to see history being made, and that's exactly what we're doing here today. Life sort of comes at you fast sometimes, and indeed the last 24 hours have been something for us to have. Today, we're cutting the ribbon on the first new rare earth mine in this country in over 70 years. And believe it or not, even for Wyoming, it's the first new coal mine in over 50 years. And that's not a milestone, that's a message as we start our nation's 250th birthday this year. And there's a lot of irony here. So 200 years ago, coal ushered in the Industrial Revolution. Today, coal might again be ushering in another type of revolution, the rare earth and critical minerals revolution. I learned long ago that mining is kind of a funny business. Often, Mother Nature does not give you what you're looking for. But sometimes she smiles on you and blesses you with something you completely didn't expect, sort of like the rain stopping. So I'm told by our friends at NETL that these rare earths were first created about 50 million years ago. We at Ramaco have been stewards of this land for only the last 15 years. But what we have discovered beneath this soil are enough rare earths that we may be able to supply this country for well over the next 100 years. I can assure you, thank you. I can assure you that we have indeed been blessed from above, that right here we think we have the largest unconventional deposit of rare earths in North America. As I said, this one mine could not only supply a huge share of America's critical mineral needs, but it could help break the untenable reliance that we now have on China. We calculate that this mine could supply almost 30% of the Defense Department's magnetic requirements. This mine is how we meet a distinctly 21st century challenge to win a war being waged below our soil for critical minerals. As we all know, China has challenged America by dominating these critical minerals for years. But today, the Brook mine will be America's mine. America will meet that challenge. This will be the epicenter of a Team USA effort for not only mining, but processing rare earths and manufacturing all of the critical products that can be made from them. This one mine can break our reliance on China. And indeed, one day, this mine might lead to Sheridan and Wyoming to be known as the home for both magnet and semiconductor manufacturing. I've always called this area the Carbon Valley, and finding REEs in coal's carbon right here certainly supports that idea in spades. This project is also about more than just coal and minerals. It's about a vision to use American ingenuity and American technology to find a way to do something different. Everybody in this field today needs to pat themselves on the back. 10 years ago, coal was given up as dead and gone. Today, we're breathing new life back into a commodity that the U.S. possesses more of than any place else in the world. And as my grandmother wisely once said, Randy, it's sometimes better to be lucky than smart, but if you get lucky, you better get smart in a hurry. That is exactly what we are trying to do. And we certainly did not do this alone. Success always has many mothers. In fact, I am not sure we would even be here today were it not for the Department of Energy's National Energy Technology Laboratory, who years ago somewhat almost casually asked us for some coal samples from the Brook mine, and then discovered it was rich in rare earths. We have two folks here today from NETL, Kelly Rose and Gabe Gleason, and also my dear friend, looking like a rock star with his dark glasses on, Edgar Laura Curzio, and Parins Parathalman from Oak Ridge. I would like to ask them to all stand up and wave to the crowd. And I also want to especially thank Governor Mark Gordon, Rob Krieger, and the Wyoming Energy Authority for their recent investment in us. Excuse me. And that is a very meaningful investment for us at this point in time. I'd also like to thank the Wyoming congressional delegation that is seated right here before us. And we want you to know how much we appreciate all that you do. Whether it's pushing back on very difficult overreaching regulations, defending communities like Sheridan from misguided policies, or helping champion innovation in things like rare earth. You have had our back every step of the way. Again, we thank you and would ask you all to stand and say hello to the crowd. And to Ranchester's own Wyoming State Senator Bo Beitman, here's to you. Bo has been a personal friend and supporter of Ramaco for many, many years. So Bo, if you're here today, I hope, stand up. There he is, looking rather natty in the tie back there. So Bo, here's to you. And thank you to our Sheridan County Commission, our many state legislators, and to our Sheridan and Ranchester local officials who are with us today. Our Vice Chairman, Evan Jenkins, who's also a former U.S. Congressman from Wyoming, is going to give each of you an individual shout out in a moment, but please stand up and wave if you're here to the crowd so everyone knows who you're here. Great to see you. And of course, we are very deeply grateful to President Donald Trump. Secretary Chris Wright is here today as his ambassador, and we hope Chris will convey our deep gratitude and thanks to the President. After all, it was under Trump 1 that we actually found the rare earths, working with his Department of Energy. His leadership and courage in standing up for coal, through executive orders, through the creation of the Energy Dominance Council, and through his resounding support for American energy and mineral strength, will all help to make this Brook mine and others very successful in the future. I know we will be calling on Chris in a few moments, but I'd like him to stand up and wave to the crowd to let him know, everybody, that he's here, and his beautiful wife, Liz. Stand up, Liz. We want to know how deeply we appreciate all you are doing individually. It's a big sacrifice to move from the private sector into government to help this country get on the right energy course. We deeply thank you, Chris. And I also want to note that this Brook mine is not just about jobs, although there's going to be plenty of jobs to go around. It's about our nation's independence. It's about our nation's grit and resilience. And finally, it's about our nation standing up to China. For too long, we have basically relied on that one country, who happens to be very hostile to us, to supply all the rare earths we need for everything from your cell phone to fighter jets. And as the saying goes, what could possibly go wrong? Well, last month, we found out. We got a taste of what happens when we depend on China for these minerals, and they pulled the plug on us. Today, the Brook mine will change that. This mine will be America's rare earth mine, and it will be our nation's answer to China. America can now take control of its own mineral destiny, and America will not be held hostage by foreign powers. The Brook Mine is somewhat of a symbol of what's possible when we persevere. We've been at this for 15 years. We believed in this, and we refused to give up. And it has taken all us old coal miners at Ramaco a long time to reach this point. But let's take a moment now to honor the generations of coal miners who came before us, not only in this state of Wyoming, but all across America. So here's to the generation of miners today and those that will follow. And let's remember, this is just the beginning, because if we can do this here at the Brook Mine, there is no limit to what we can do next. This is America, this is Wyoming, and we are Ramaco. We're just getting started to help build our nation's future. Thank you so much for coming. And now it gives me a great honor to introduce my friend, Governor Mark Gordon. I'm going to brag on you before I let you get up, but come on up anyway. I have known our governor since before he ran about 7 years ago. I was introduced to him, and I said, Mark, you are a down-the-middle, pragmatic politician that is the type that I admire. But I'm going to tell you something about what we're trying to do with coal, which is unfortunately not really down the middle. So he listened patiently to me and my strange ideas about how you could use coal. And he said, you know, Randy, if you can do something that makes sense, I will support you and Wyoming will support you all the way. He is a Wyoming man of his word, and he and his administration have been there for coal communities, and for Ramaco when we needed it. His investment in this project through the Wyoming Energy Authority is proof of a man of his word. To this crowd, I don't think I need to give a whole lot of personal background about the man from Casey, but he is one of the most popular governors in the country. And I'm sure he will continue to contribute to both this state and our nation for many years to come. We are honored to have him as our governor, and we are doubly honored that he could be with us today. So with that, I would like to introduce Governor Mark Gordon. Get this out of the way.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. What a beautiful day. And it is absolutely glorious. Randy, thank you so much for those words. I've got a couple of things I've got to say about you, but I'll wait for just a moment or two. Evan, thank you as well for your introduction. And how is Gina with the most beautiful song in the world? You know, I say over and over and over again, that is a very difficult song to sing, and it is entirely appropriate for America. Because our country was made by people who had vision, people who were willing to be persistent and take risks. Think about the whole of our history and how important it is that we had people like Randy Atkins who could stand at the front and say, you know, Gov, I've got a couple of crazy ideas. We happen to share some of those ideas. At that time, the then governor of Washington was saying, we can't get coal off the West Coast because we don't want any of that carbon coming out here. And I was talking to the governor of Washington and saying, how come we can't build things from coal? And that's what Randy was doing. And it's exciting when you have somebody who can make things happen because he has flexibility, vision, and understanding about where opportunity lies. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But one of the great things about Wyoming, and I will say this from the core, you know, I grew up on a cattle ranch, and when you had a job to do, you had neighbors, and you knew those neighbors knew what needed to get done. You didn't have to tell them what was going to get done. And I have to tell you, I have the greatest group of individuals to work with in our
federal delegation that you can imagine. I want to say thank you to John, to Cynthia, and to Harriet, because just like on a cold morning, when everybody's horses have got a little bit of hump under the back of the saddle, you know they'll show up, do the job, and stand for Wyoming every single day. Please, let's give them another hand. And it was really fun, really, really fun to be with Randy and Chris Wright in Washington, D.C., along with our delegation, when President Trump said, we're having no more of this nonsense and no more coal. We know what we can do with coal, and we're going to open this up. There were EO after EO after EO, and I'll talk about a little bit of the rain we had a little bit earlier. It was cloudy. There was a little bit of rain, and the sun suddenly came out, just like it did there. Chris, your leadership is absolutely amazing. Thank you for stepping forward. And I'll say, because I used to work for an oil company too, and these public service jobs, they just aren't as much fun. Just saying. Something Joe Manchin also knows, and Joe, I want to say thank you, because during a time when there were those clouds and maybe we were as a country a little bit asleep, you were there to help with our back as well. This last several years, I don't need to tell you, this last several years, people were saying coal is dead. There's no future for coal. There's no opportunity for us to grow. Today, the first mine in 50 years is opening. That's an achievement. And it was people like Joe Manchin working with John Barrasso and Cynthia who kept that dream alive, to keep the knowledge that the cheapest, most plentiful energy source that's most reliable has a future, not just to burn, but to do other great things with today as well. Earlier this year, we had the opportunity to travel to Taiwan and to Japan. And Randy talked a little bit about the stranglehold that China has put on. It's like a giant amoeba. It has swallowed up almost every country that has rare earths in it. It's taken over all the production. You know, this isn't too much unlike our #1 reserve of uranium, where we gave that to the Russians. We need to bring all this back to this great country. The pillars that you see on either side are what made this country. We have been asleep. We have been asleep. And now we are awake because of our president and because we finally realize that we need more, not less energy. That we cannot regulate ourselves into a future. We must innovate ourselves into a future. Our country is the greatest on earth because of you, the people who work every day to make it just a little bit stronger, to make it just a little bit better. There's no country on earth that has had that kind of history. And that's why that national anthem is such a special national anthem. Randy, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today where we know we can take our future back from China, where we have friends in Taiwan and Japan who are saying, for heaven's sake, America, do something so that we can help with your efforts to make sure that China does not dominate the world. God bless you. God bless your board, an amazing board. God bless this great country, and thank you.
Governor Gordon, thank you so much. Let's give Governor Gordon one more round of applause. Now, Randy referenced that I'd spent a little time in Washington. Fortunately, not too much. I've got the best job in the world now. I get to introduce an awesome Congresswoman. I will tell you, I was reminded off stage that Wyoming has had women Congress representation since 1994. Congratulations to all the women who have served our great country representing the state of Wyoming. Now it is truly an honor to introduce Harriet Hegman. It's a true honor for me. And yes, Congresswoman, what you are touching there, and it gives me a great opportunity. This is not just a little stagecraft. That is actually the coal from the Brook mine that was mined within the last 2 weeks. We brought it down, and our awesome team put it on this stage, and I am glad you're touching it to feel it, because I will tell you, it has touched our lives. I've been in her office, and it would look great. We might ship it. A UPS truck came by earlier today. We'll load it up for you. Whether she's standing up to federal overreach, fighting to protect our energy independence, making sure Washington hears the voice of Wyoming, she is second to none. I could go on, and candidly, I do have those remarks, but she is on stage. I don't want to hold her up because she is very special to us. She is very special to Wyoming. I have seen her in action in Washington. There is no greater champion for the state of Wyoming. Congresswoman, please step forward, and thank you for all you do.
Wow, what a gorgeous day. It's so wonderful to be here, such an honor to be here. It is such an honor to join you on this historic occasion. The ribbon cutting of the Brook Mine Carbon Ore Rare Earth Project marks a monumental step forward for Wyoming and for our nation. This is not just the opening of a mine, it is the dawn of a new era in American energy and in national security. Wyoming has long been the backbone of U.S. energy production. We are the nation's top coal producer, and we supply some of the lowest cost electricity to homes and businesses across all of America. Our energy output includes coal, natural gas, uranium, and now critical and rare earth minerals, which drive jobs, economic growth, and innovation. For over 70 years, the United States has relied almost entirely on foreign sources, particularly China, for critical minerals essential to our economy and defense. That dependency is vulnerability. Today that changes. Thanks to the vision and leadership of Ramaco Resources, we are reclaiming our independence by tapping into the vast reserves of rare earth elements right beneath our feet, right here in Wyoming. The Brook Mine is poised to become the first new rare earth mine in the U.S. in over 7 decades, and the first brand new coal mine in Wyoming in over 50 years. Our first major mine project in 3 decades. This mine will not only bolster our supply chains, but also create high-paying jobs, fuel economic growth in rural communities, reduce our dependence on China for refining, and strengthen our national defense by producing heavy, rare earths vital for domestic magnet manufacturing. This means high-paying jobs for Wyoming families, economic opportunity in our rural communities, stronger supply chains, and a more secure America. Refineries and magnet manufacturers will once again be able to call the U.S. home and minimize reliance on foreign adversaries. But we are not just strengthening our national security, we are becoming champions of abundance. This project is about more than extraction, it is also about creation. It is about enriching communities, fueling innovation, and celebrating the ingenuity we share. By harnessing Wyoming's natural wealth, we are empowering supply chains, reviving communities, and producing the materials we need here at home. I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege and tell just a bit of a personal story. My mother is 101 years old. She is going to be 102 this year. And I think about how her life has changed in 100 years. She was born in 1923. She lived on a dairy farm. They got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, they milked the cows, they tended the garden, they canned the food, they chopped the wood, and they spent much of every waking hour just in survival mode. And you think of how our lives have changed in 100 years. You look at the clothing that we wear, you look at the cars that we drive, you look at the beautiful buildings that we are able to build, you look at our standard of living, the increase in life expectancy, the decrease in infant mortality rate, and it's all related to one thing, and that is the commercial production of affordable and reliable energy. It has changed our lives in 100 years in a way that is unrivaled in world history. For thousands of years, people lived, in some ways worse than my mother, but all of us have benefited from what Ramaco and companies like this have done. The innovators, the builders, the people who want to make our lives better. I am so proud to be here for this celebration today. And I want to commend Ramaco Resources for their commitment to innovation and sustainability. We are seizing a generational opportunity, transforming Wyoming's natural resources into American strength and security. And together, today, we are not just opening a mine, we are securing a brighter, more independent future for Wyoming and America. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Harriet, so much, and I'm delighted to hear about your mother because I think that means we're going to have you around for a long time in Wyoming politics. So here's to both you and your mother. Thank you so much. So now I have the great honor of introducing a good friend, a new board member, and a rather iconic politician of this 21st century, which is my friend, Joe Manchin. Joe is a West Virginian. I seem to find myself living in states whose first initial is W. So I was from West Virginia before. I'm in Wyoming now. Joe, I think you are a man who needs really not much introduction. Most people have heard of you. Now it's your chance to tell your side of the story.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate it very much. And, you know, I was born and raised in a little coal mining town named Farmington, 500 people. And I always said this, we're all a product of our environment. You are who you are today, sitting here in this wonderful opening that we're having by how you were raised, who you were raised, and where you were raised. It never leaves you, stays with you forever. I was building right in the middle. I was born and raised in the middle of 4 coal companies, 4 big coal mines, probably the largest in the United States of America at that time. And it's unbelievable. It's in my veins. It's who I am. The energy we produced in the miners. Patriotic people. Anybody in this industry is as patriotic as they come. My wife, Gail, and I, her dad was a big coal operator. He was hauling the coal. He was a coal transporter. So we met at WVU. I keep looking around in all of what's going on today. After I got out of the Senate, I've been involved in public service one way or another for over 40 years. And I know what it takes to put teams together and have a family atmosphere. I first want to say this about the Ramaco. I didn't know what I was going to do after I retired in January. I wanted to be involved, and I always enjoyed business. I wanted to get back into public service, but also into the private sector. So then I heard about this project. I've known Randy and the Ramaco people for quite a while. A lot of the West Virginia, Kentucky, and Wyoming connection is all intertwined. And I heard about, on top of that, not just the coal and the energy that we produce forever, but also the critical minerals that we need. It's the new energy of the 21st century. If we don't get this right, God help us all. Chris is going to be able to talk about this in much more detail and is extremely knowledgeable. We are lucky, truly lucky, and I've seen a lot of energy secretaries come and go, and we're lucky to get this one. He's the right guy at the right time, and Liz, his wife, the support he has, she'll push him up that mountain. They always said, person on top of the mountain didn't fall there. Well, I found out the woman that pushed him on top of the mountain, right there. Anyway, it's such a joy to have that. But this time I would really like to say this. I am proud to be part of this Ramaco board, this Ramaco family. If every board member and their spouses would stand, and all of the family of the Ramaco people that I've been able to intertwine with, if you would stand and be recognized, because it's all deserving, all of you. It's a family affair. Thank you all. Well, I have the distinct pleasure and the honor. First of all, my dear friend, John Barrasso. John and I have been teammates, if you will. They couldn't believe that. You got Republican, Democrats, we had everything in common. We liked each other. His late wife, Bobby, God rest her soul, was what a beautiful person. Her and Gail and John and I, we all became friends. We've known each other. And the last few years that we were teammates on Energy Committee. And we thought just alike. We got the first permitting bill out in a bipartisan way that's never been done in history of the United States Congress. And it's sitting on the desk ready to go. And I'm sure that President Trump can push that over the finish line. We've done a lot of good work there. I want to say this about President Trump. I was fortunate enough to know him, and he's such a character. I don't need to tell you all. The thing that I was so proud about, what he was able to do, is bring back the respect for mining, what the coal miner has done. And I have said, I don't care whether you live in California, whether you think you hate coal or not, you better get on your knees and say a prayer for a coal miner and those who gave you the energy that you have today, that you take for granted. It's them and what we've been able to do. They're going to be able to say the same thing about the REEs right now, the rare earth minerals. And Governor Mark, I tell you, what you've done here and been able to take it to the next level and make the investments you've made ahead of anybody else in the country doing what you've done. God bless you. But with that, I have a young lady I have the pleasure and honor of being able to introduce. Now, let me tell you about this young lady, okay? She's been around. She understands what's going on, not only in Wyoming, through all of the aspects of Wyoming in the political arena and the public arena, but also when she comes to Congress. She comes to Congress and makes a name for herself in the U.S. House of Representatives, comes over to the Senate. And here's this wonderful, beautiful lady that coming in. She very quiet, doesn't say a word. And I'm thinking, my goodness, I know a little bit about her background. I'm just not hearing a whole lot because she's not. But I want to tell you one thing. When she speaks, we all listen because she knows what she's talking about. And the main thing about it, in Congress, what you have to have is likability. You have 3 representatives have likability in spades. I don't hear a bad word on either side of the aisle about any of these. And God bless Wyoming for having what you have and what you've sent to us. And the whole country is thankful for that. But with that, Cynthia Lummis has been an unbelievable United States Senator, coming in, understanding the ropes, how to make things happen, how to bring people together. Also being ahead of the Western Caucus of the Western states, being able to represent basically the West, if you will, the wonderful, wonderful West. And with that, without further ado, I want to bring your senator, our senator, and thank God, United States Senator from the great state of Wyoming, Cynthia Lummis.
Well, good, beautiful afternoon in Wyoming. I want to thank my former Senate colleague, Joe Manchin, for that very kind introduction. And he was truly a leader in mining, especially coal mining, and in a tough environment for his background and his political persuasion. But he led in a way that was very, very admirable and helpful to all of us who appreciate mining, especially coal mining. And I also want to thank my former House colleague, Evan Jenkins. So what an outstanding board Ramaco has assembled. And it's because these are people who are knowledgeable and believe in America producing its own energy and its own rare earth minerals. And this is a company and a mine that combine both. Products that produce the energy America needs and the world needs, and that we need to become the leader in artificial intelligence so we can stay ahead of China. Even the companies that embraced non-baseload energy have now come to the conclusion that without baseload energy that comes from coal, oil, and gas, we don't have the chance to beat China. It is incumbent upon America to produce the energy it needs and to export it around the world, because our energy is needed everywhere as a geopolitical balance to those countries that are exporting their energy in a way that exports values that are antithetical to the United States. Yesterday was Wyoming's 135th birthday. Wyoming became a state on July 10th, 1890. And our flag and its seal bear the image of a miner. And that's because from day one, this state has celebrated and honored the people who built it. So we've got ranchers and miners, and we've got the equality symbol that goes along with the fact that Wyoming was the first government in the world to continuously grant and award women the right to vote. That miner on that seal, on that flag for our state is the reason we're here today. The people of mining and the people that are here today recognizing how the rare earth minerals intertwined with this coal are going to bring about the great golden renaissance of America for producing its own energy, its own goods, and that we can be both independent of China and export our values of freedom around the world is what we're here today for. I want to thank Ramaco. I want to thank this board. It's no just happenstance that this board has been recruited of very outstanding individuals from all over the country, because Ramaco stands for American values, for American ingenuity, and America producing everything it needs for its own people and for free people around the world. God bless you, Ramaco. Welcome to Wyoming. Thank you for what you're doing. God bless America.
Great remarks, deeply appreciated. It is now my distinct honor to introduce my friend, Senator John Barrasso. He is familiar to everyone in this state. He is practically what I have called people a one-man institution. He is our senior senator. He is the Senate Majority Whip. He is the number 2 ranking member in the Senate, and he carries the tremendous burden of helping run both the Senate and helping care about Wyoming's needs. I first met John about 10 years ago after I bought this mine, and I decided I better need to kind of introduce myself to the senator. So every time I was in Washington, I would try to see if I could at least drop by to say hello, and his staff very graciously accommodated me. And when I first met him and I started telling him about all these interesting ideas of what I wanted to do with coal, you know, he probably thought I was a bit of a snake oil salesman. And it was very mysterious. For the first few times I would meet him, mysteriously after about 45 seconds to a minute, some attractive assistant would appear at the door and she'd start tapping her watch, and he would very graciously, you know, excuse himself and, you know, leave for a moment. And as time went on, I discovered that my story got a little better. John stayed a little longer, and I'm very gratified that, you know, he is here today with us, so I can actually show him that some of the strange things I was telling him about actually have come true. So it is a great honor for me to introduce, the senior senator from our state, Senator John Barrasso.
Well, it is wonderful to be here with all of you, and no person is a one-person institution. We are a 3-member team fighting every day for the people of Wyoming, and it's such a privilege to work with both of you. Thank you. And every time we come back, and it happened again today, say Senator Jim Anderson, who's here today, he says, how are things in Washington? And any of us that are asked that, we always say it is always better in Wyoming, always. That's because here we have the cowboy code. Live each day with courage, take pride in your work, and do what needs to be done. You know, Ronald Reagan came to Wyoming in the 80s, and he gave a speech, and he said the thing he loved about Wyoming and the Rocky Mountain West, he said, people here still believe the future is ours to shape. And that's what we're seeing here today. Governor, thank you for your leadership. Tough, tested, trusted by the people. We appreciate your commitment to our state and to the best future for our state. So thank you, Governor, as well. And Joe Manchin, what a great partner we've had together, a partnership on the Energy Committee. When Joe Biden told the EPA to prioritize climate over energy that was affordable, available, and reliable, this guy stood up to his president, stood up to his party, and said that is absolutely wrong. We need energy. We need American energy. We need America energy dominance. Energy is the master resource for a reason. We have it here. We should use it here. Joe, you're a perfect member for this board. Thanks so much for all of your leadership. And Cynthia, yesterday in the U.S. Senate, sponsored lunch for all the Republicans, Wyoming Day, big birthday cake, talked about the flag, talked about the individuals on the flag, the history of the state. When Wyoming turned 100, George Herbert Walker Bush, George Bush the father, came to Wyoming, and he gave a speech outside the Capitol building, and he said, Wyoming is a special and a sacred place, and its visions and values continue to inspire America. And Randy, what is happening here today continues to inspire this great country. And I'm so fortunate to be able to introduce Chris Wright, our Secretary of Energy, who is here with us today. When President Trump, I understand, was looking for a Secretary of Energy, he actually called Doug Burgum, who he knew very well, had been the governor of North Dakota, and is now the Secretary of Interior. He said, I want you to be Secretary of Energy. Doug told the president, no, there is somebody much better to be Secretary of Energy. It's somebody from the Mountain West time zone. It's somebody who knows energy, who was a leader in fracking early on, who was a leader in rare earth elements, who was a leader in nuclear, done things in each and every one of those components. We could not be more fortunate in our entire energy team that President Trump has put together in terms of Interior, in terms of the EPA, and in terms of our Secretary of Energy. And I would like you all to please give a very warm Wyoming welcome to the Secretary of Energy of the United States, Chris Wright.
Thank you all. Thank you all. And the president also sent his thanks and regards to all of you here at the event and to everyone in Wyoming. Pretty hard act to follow, these four tremendous leaders from the great state of Wyoming. I think they share the characteristics that this state was formed on. 135 years ago, plus one day, this state was founded. And what characterized Wyoming? Bold pioneers who were characterized by a belief in self-sufficiency and true grit to conquer all obstacles, because there will always be obstacles. They will never go away. They will change. But this state's proud history is embodied in those four strong leaders that, again, you've got Washington and a giant government trying to squish Wyoming for years, and it takes true grit to push back and keep Wyoming free and prosperous and part of the future. Let me talk a little bit about energy. The United States was built by doing big, strong, bold things. We were the energy powerhouse of the world for a long time. We created the oil industry and we're the world's largest producer for 60, 70 years. The United States was the dominant oil producer. Our production peaked in 1970, and it declined for over 30 years in a pretty steady downward beat, and people thought those days were over. 25 years ago, we imported 60% of all the oil we consumed, And we were also the world's largest importer of natural gas. Our energy days as a producer were over. We were dependent upon the Middle East, terrified about anything that would happen there. We were worried about Russia. We certainly didn't want their energy production to go down because we in the world counted on it. And we had a revolution that began 25 years ago. Technology, American entrepreneurs, risk-taking. Wyoming played a major role in this as well. And we created a thing called the shale revolution. And we went from importing 60% of our oil to today being a net oil exporter, and by far and away the world's largest producer of oil. Russia and Saudi Arabia are distant second and thirds. In fact, if you count total liquid fuels, they produce about half what the United States produces. We were the largest importer of natural gas in the world. Today, we're the largest net exporter of natural gas in the world. We've shown what American boldness and entrepreneurialism can do. We need a second revolution, and we're here launching that today, and I'll come back to that. But what happened after the start of the shale revolution, before we even knew what it was, almost in the same time frame, maybe 20 years ago, a huge movement began in America. And of course, it was not a Wyoming movement. It was a movement of people on the coast, people removed from energy, but it was just an all-in, outright demonization of oil, gas, and coal. The things that make the world go round, we decided were evil. We didn't want to associate with them. We particularly didn't like people who produced them. And this movement has caused tremendous damage to our country. In fact, if Americans weren't strong and bold, it could have smothered us. But we fought back, including all of the political leaders. All four of the Wyoming leaders, Senator Manchin, pushed back against this movement. And the worst part of this movement, it was both wrong. Hydrocarbons are not the enemy of the world. They're the creators and enablers of the modern world, of modern medicine, of everything that makes our life awesome. Throughout all of human history, life expectancy was 30 years. Globally, 30 years. Today it's 73. Does anybody want 30-year life expectancy or 70-year life? I'm for the longer life expectancy. But we had a movement that apparently was against that. So just crazy stuff. But, and worst of it, it specifically targeted coal. Coal was the first great energy breakthrough. Coal is what brought us the Industrial Revolution and hence the modern world. Coal not only changed human lives, it changed our physical environment. Why do we have forests all over Western Europe and all over the United States? Because of that. England didn't get coal in time. It industrialized early. It wiped out all of its forests to build boats and to try to make iron, smelting, and just early industrial production. Because that's what we had. That's what powered the world throughout all of human history, trees. Today we got a lot of trees and a lot of beautiful forests. We have those and the better lives because of coal. Coal has been the biggest source of global electricity for over 120 years, and it remains today by far the biggest source of global electricity, and it will remain that way for the rest of our lifetimes. So to believe that coal somehow is bad or somehow is going away is just nonsense and destructive nonsense. So I love these towers here. These are pillars of strength made up of what our president calls so artfully and so accurately big, beautiful, clean coal. That's what we have here. We need a new revolution in this Wyoming mold of bold pioneers, of a drive for self-sufficiency, and that true grit to power through all the obstacles that are going to come. Today, anything in your life that has a button, you start your car with a button, or your dishwasher, or your refrigerator, your washing machine, your F-35 fighter jet, all of those things have rare earth elements playing a critical role in the design and the operation of those products. It's not a giant industry, but it's an industry that infiltrates everything with a button, which in a modern world is almost everything. That industry today is completely dominated by China, completely. They don't mine all of it, but even the stuff that's mined elsewhere, they bring to China to process, because it's a tricky process. And then they make these magnets, and they had a purposeful effort to completely control that industry. Not to get rich, not to make money, but to have leverage over us and all of the world. Without the magnets from rare earth elements, our car factories shut down, our appliance factories shut down, our airline, everything we build, everything that makes our country go round. We're in a place today we cannot be. We cannot be. We need a revolution, and therefore we shall have a revolution. That revolution is going to be anchored by the people you saw today, the businesses we've heard, the team of Ramaco, and other companies around this country that are going to bring the mining of rare earth elements to the United States, and maybe biggest of all, right here in awesome Wyoming. We're going to do the processing of those metals and critical materials. There's things beyond rare earth elements. We need to mine them, process them, refine them, and construct the products in our country so we are self-sufficient and independent. I hope we will all remember this day, the day where that pivot came and we drove towards that American strength and self-sufficiency. I want to close with thanking Ramaco for hosting this event. I want to thank everyone here that traveled. You could be doing other things right now when you came to this event, maybe sensing this was part of history. I want to thank, throughout all of time, the generations of coal miners who gave us the lives we have today. They gave us our lives. Those same coal miners that are still delivering the world's largest source of electricity, one of the major sources of electricity in our country as well, they're going to give us, through their mining of those same coal resources, these rare earth elements and other critical minerals that exist among that coal, and they're going to bring us back. So God bless everyone that's working in that industry. God bless all of the people of the wonderful state of Wyoming. God bless the United States of America. Onward and upward. I brought my scissors.